Well, hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. I'm Sarah.
Hello, and I'm Kevin.
And we are the McFalls. We are an American family of 6 with 4 kids.
And Peanut the cat.
Who moved from America to Germany in February of 2021 for travel, adventure, to experience a new culture, new lifestyle, and many other reasons that we love Germany, but we won't get into that now. Anyway, so if you've been following us a while, you may be like, oh my God, what happened to her hair? I know, I got my hair chopped off.
It looks really cute. I like it.
Kevin loves it. I came home and almost cried because I was in shock. I mean, my hair was down to here. So it is, oh, I don't know. I just want something easier to maintain, and I get bored with my hair, so I like it to get.
I got my hair cut too last week.
Yeah,
so,
Kevin did.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Tell?
You know, I got a lot cut off.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it's a totally different style, so it looks really good. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, I'm liking it more today, but I was in shock yesterday and didn't like it. So it's the scary thing about hair. So for the past 4, maybe even 5 weeks, we've been talking about our experience with our 4 kids in school. We started in kindergarten and have gone all the way up through Gymnasium. And make sure you check out those videos. I'll have a link to the playlist below. It's Raising Children in Germany.
So today we're here to talk about our boys' experience starting Gymnasium. The last video we made was about their journey, the crazy journey to getting them admitted. And we were very happy that finally we got that settled. But even once we got, knew that they were both enrolled and it was going to happen, there were still a lot of question marks for us. There had been so much unknown of what was going to happen, all the way through July.
Yeah, so before the kids started school in the middle of September, I really felt like we were all kind of nervous all of August, half of September, not knowing anything about Gymnasium, how this would work. In the US, we're used to getting a supply list, from the teachers like 2 weeks ahead of time before school starts.
And we did for 5th grade. But
that's right.
not for 6th grade.
Yeah. And so thankfully I was contacting other people I know who are going to the same gymnasium, and they said, yeah, this is normal. I don't have any information either. I have no idea what they need for 6th grade. So at least we knew that we hadn't missed out on something or had done something wrong.
Right.
So
we do so many things wrong.
Yes. And this is like another big hurdle that we had to cross in moving to Germany. Anytime you're moving to a foreign country, every new thing, I think, feels like this big wall that you've got to scale. You've got to go up this, or, mountains or hills. You've got another hill you've got to climb, and you've got to figure out how to get up to the top. And then once you're up to the top, you're like, okay, now I got it. I understand this. But yeah. Gymnasium was a big hill, and we were all nervous.
We never really went for a proper orientation at the school. The boys had never been inside other than to walk up the stairs and go into the principal's office. Yeah, so it was a big change. Which probably is
because of COVID. We're not sure, and I'm sure every school is different, so please don't take this information and think it's for every gymnasium in all of Germany. But our particular one didn't have an orientation.
And what they did have, though, was on the first day of school, they had a sort of a welcome for the 5th graders, because all of the 5th graders are starting school. It's a new place, a new thing. And so they had a little ceremony in the beginning where they actually called every kid's individual name and had them come up on stage, and they gave them a t-shirt and, a little homework log and different things. And then they did do, actually, that day, a little tour of the school.
Yes.
So that was kind of nice that they had the parents come, and they had a little reception for the parents. So for the 5th graders, there was like, a whole organized routine for them. But for Gabriel, who was going into 6th grade, there was nothing, actually. No. And,
sink or swim.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it is because we've learned this with your guys' help, that the students go from year to year in the same group of children generally with the same teacher as well, and that follows them through their whole time at the school.
In Grundschule.
Well, that happens in Gymnasium too. So that's what we're learning.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Is that Gabriel got placed into class 6A.
It's already well established.
Which was already well established. It was the same kids from the previous year, the same teacher from the previous year. And so, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize this, but inside the door of the main entrance into the school, they had a little bulletin board that listed each class and the roster of what kids were in the class and which room they were in. Now, when we got to the school, everybody, I guess because of COVID, or maybe they always do this, out in the Pausenhof, in the main square in front of the school, was where everyone was gathering. And so I never actually went in the building because everyone was standing out there. And we were trying to figure out what to do, but it seemed like, oh, well, everyone's waiting. The parents were out there. And one of the really cool things about going to this school is that there was one of Gabriel's friends was also in 6th grade and had been going to that school. So it was really cool that he would get to go to the school where his friend was.
And he's half German and speaks fluent German.
Yeah, he has a German father and an American mother. And so we met him. And he wasn't sure what to do either. And so he's standing around there. We're standing around there looking, and it's getting close to the time when classes are supposed to start. And I started realizing, I'm like looking, I'm saying, all of the kids that are hanging out here are younger kids. I don't see, this is a gymnasium, goes all the way up through grade 12. So there should be, if all the kids are waiting here to get into school, then there should be older kids too. And I realized all the kids were, 5th grade age. And so then I was like, wait a minute. I got to figure out what Gabriel's supposed to do. And his friend, they didn't know what to do. And so that's when I walked into the main entrance to the school, and there was the board that had listed the rosters. And then I looked, looking down, 6A, 6B, and I look in 6A, there's Gabriel, and he was in the same class as his friend.
Yes,
he got
so
placed.
Happy about this.
He got placed in the same class, and there it said, Frau, their teacher's name, and what the room number was. And so then I went out and I was like, hey, do you know where this room number is? Apparently that's where you and Gabriel are. And so luckily Gabriel's friend was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know where that room is. And so then he took Gabriel in and brought him in, and it was like right before class was supposed to start. It was like they barely made it to class.
They were nervous.
Yeah, they were very nervous. And so, Grayson, going into 5th grade, he got the tour of the school, and he got shown around where everything was. But poor Gabriel, he didn't have that. But thank goodness his friend was in the same class. And, so he's in his homeroom, and his homeroom teacher is also his math teacher. The students that are in the same homeroom, they share a lot of their other classes, like math and others. And so...
Which is different than in America.
Right. And so at least many of his classes most of his classes actually, he's with his friends.
Same kids, yeah.
And with the same kids and with his friends, so it could help show him around.
Which really helps with a new person and a foreigner especially, to be able to get to know the kids in his class and be really familiar. So it's helped Gabriel a lot.
Yeah. So the kids have started. They are Gästeschuler right now, guest students. So that's really great that their grades are not counting right now. It's not until February. And I'm not sure, maybe it's because that's the year after we came. I'm not sure why they picked the date of February. But they're following their normal classes, all the normal homework. They're taking all the normal tests. They're getting feedback on their tests. They're getting grades on them. But they're not going to count. Those grades aren't going to count for them until February. So that gives them a lot of peace of mind. They can try things out. They can see how it goes. They can learn the system. They can get better at their German before their grades are going to count.
I think it's a great way to integrate new kids and also foreigners. It gives them a chance to go to Gymnasium and try it out. Yeah. Which is so ironic because in the last video, we told you guys, and many of you were so shocked and even mad that the principal from another gymnasium had told us that immigrants just don't do well in gymnasium and really shouldn't be going to gymnasium if you don't know the language yet. Right. Yeah. if you know the language, you're okay. And so it just is so different from Gymnasium to Gymnasium. And we had to find one that would allow them to be Gästeschuler and slowly, you know, ease their way in.
And even still, there's no Deutsche als zweite Sprache, you know, German as a second language. There's no program for that in this school.
But there might be ones in bigger cities.
Yeah, but I mean, they're doing okay. They're getting much better at their German skills. And I think I've got it figured out now of, you know, what the rules are to be able to graduate from each grade and not get held back. I was looking around, I found the Bavarian law actually telling the rules on that, and I'm pretty sure I need to confirm with the school, but from what I understand, they can get 1-5 in one of their subjects and have 4s or higher and everything else and still be able to continue. But if they get 2 5s or 1 6, then they're at risk of being held back. I think there's an opportunity to take a test to maybe still prove that they can continue.
And that system is different than the one in America where we do it by letters, except in the elementary schools. That has changed to numbers. But 4 is the best. In the elementary school we just came from, the Grundschule, it is 4 is the best and 1 is the worst. So it's flipped here in Germany. And in middle school and high school, for the most part, it's still letter grades. So A, B, C, D, and then F. And F is failing, A is the best. So.
And we're working now to make sure that we can get the kids to be able to do well enough to not have to be held back. I did look, you know, in the fine print in that law that I was reading about. It seems as though for the first 2 years that a child has moved to Germany and doesn't have German as a mother tongue, that actually their German grade, it doesn't count in order to hold them back.
The German class.
The German class grade. Yeah. So you know, that sounds reasonable. It gives them a couple years to get better at German, but they still need to do well in their other subjects to be able to stay. So it seemed like the entry of getting into Gymnasium seems trickier than once you get in and once you're enrolled and you can show that you're making progress. It appears as if it makes, you know, that it's reasonable. And obviously, you know, if our kids are not going to be able to get, you know, good grades in Gymnasium, you know,
or they're stressed out,
you know, they should get held back or potentially move them to Realschule or whatever. You know, we understand that.
And we're totally fine with them going to Realschule. It's still a good path to university if that's what they want to do later on.
Another big transition for the kids of going to Gymnasium is to take public transportation to get there.
Yes.
And so, you know, in America, we're used to riding the school bus, you know, the big yellow school bus, you know, it's sort of iconic.
Iconic in movies, the cafeteria and the school bus.
And so, they were used to riding a bus to school. But it was close, first of all. I mean, it still took a half hour or so for them on the bus because they had to go through all the neighborhoods, but it wasn't far away, and it was organized by the school. And they do have school-arranged buses here, you know, for the Grundschule. We happen to live close enough to the Grundschule that our children can walk, but we have friends who live a little bit farther out, and there is a school-organized bus that comes and picks them up. But you know, the Gymnasium our kids go to is in a totally another town. It's about a 20-25 minute drive away. And there's a city bus that makes that trip that's not organized by the school, which I find really curious because the other Gymnasium is accessible by train and the train runs so regularly and that's not a problem. But this bus, there's actually only one bus in the morning that goes from our town to that town. And
so, but we live in a very small town. So I imagine, is this different in other parts of Germany? Do you have dedicated school buses, like in bigger cities and bigger areas? I imagine it's probably different.
I don't know.
Around Germany.
My understanding could be wrong, is just you're in a bigger place, there's more buses going, and they may still be city buses, but I don't know. It's probably different in different places. You know, but for us, there's just this one bus in the morning, and it gets them there, and the time schedule is actually pretty tight. I mean, they get there and they have to boogie to get to class on time. So I would have thought that they would have arranged it a little bit better, that they have a little bit more buffer. And actually in the afternoons, the buffer is even less.
5 minutes.
Now there is a bus that goes another 45 minutes later, but got to sit around for 45 minutes, So it's been really interesting seeing the schedule, and it seems like it could be optimized a little bit better for the school. But beyond that, the bus hasn't actually been crazy reliable.
Not at all.
Comes late.
Yeah. 10 or 15 minutes late. Which getting the kids to school means they're late to class.
So the bus comes 10 or 15 minutes late, and then they're all stressed out about getting to class. And what's made it worse for us is there's actually a bunch of construction at the bus stop where they get dropped off near their school. And so the buses are going different routes sometimes. They're supposed to do some extra stops, but they don't always stop at these extra stops. And it's just been really crazy. Just yesterday, the boys got to the bus stop at the normal time, and the bus either never stopped at that stop or it had come so much early that they had missed it. So I actually had to go and pick them up. And the other morning last week, it was a new bus driver, and they came 10 or 15 minutes late and then dropped the kids off at a different spot than what they were used to.
Yes.
And even though it was just like a block or two away, the kids didn't recognize Our kids, they're like, where am I? I have no idea where we are. And they call me.
And we got phones for them just for this reason.
Right.
We've been trying to delay giving them phones as long as we can, but they have absolutely needed phones for this experience because they've been able to message us on WhatsApp, and we got the WhatsApp plan. It's like €5 a month.
No, it's €5 for 6 months.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So we're paying €5 for 6 months and that includes data?
It does not include data.
Okay.
It includes
the WhatsApp.
Everything in what you can do, anything unlimited in WhatsApp. But you can't text messages and regular calls. They're not within WhatsApp, and data cost extra.
Okay. So we've gotten them hooked up with all of our families in America through WhatsApp. They're able to talk to their grandparents and aunts and uncles and stuff. So that's really fun. And then they're able to communicate with us.
Yeah.
So that way we knew to go pick them up. If they didn't have phones for this whole experience, it would have been a disaster. They would have been crying and upset and scared.
Yeah, I mean, they got dropped off in this spot, and they just didn't know what to do and how to get there. And so I'm talking to them. All right, what do you see? What signs do you see? And I finally got them oriented, and I knew exactly where they were. And so I'm like, okay, we'll walk this way. But then there was all the construction, and the entire road was blocked, and they were on the opposite side of the construction from what they needed to be, and they couldn't find any way across. The construction was so long, they couldn't even see how to cross the road and get to the other side. Eventually, they ran across the construction worker and asked him to help them, and the construction worker helped get him across.
Which is scary when you're a kid to talk to a random stranger adult.
Exactly.
And it's scary because they're not fluent. I mean, they're pretty good at German now, but
it was
that's
really
a scary thing for a kid to have to go up to some random adult and ask him a question.
And luckily this guy was nice enough, and he actually came up to them and asked them, and it's like, hey, do you need help? He saw that they were sort of lost or whatever.
I didn't know that.
He did. He actually came and offered to help them. And so that was really great. And
that community mindset here in Germany where they take care of each other.
So they got to school like 40 minutes late, and I had emailed the secretary to tell her what the situation was. So when
Before
they walked
8 a.m.
in, and so when they got there and went to the secretary's office, she already knew that they were late. And she's like, "Yeah, okay, McFalls,
she said, "Oh, die McFalls, willkommen, go to your class."
Yeah, and then she got them off to their class and everything. So the bus has been crazy. There's been several times I've had to go and pick them up. And it's not just our kids too. There was another kid waiting with them, and when I picked up my kids, I brought him home too. Brought him back to his house.
Takes a village.
And
they've been driven home by another kid.
Yeah, there was one of our neighbors ended up driving them home too. So it's been a little crazy with the transportation.
Yeah, I mean, that was a scary thing for the boys to learn, by themselves. And it was a really good, it just goes into that German self-reliance, that culture of self-reliance that is here. At only 10 and 12, they're able to navigate their way now around.
Through another town
and on the public transportation. And it was scary and it was hard. And, we could have bailed them out several times, but, we really tried to say, like when Kevin was helping them navigate to get to school, when the bus was late, they were begging for us to come pick me up. Please come pick us up and bring us to school, Daddy. They were scared.
Yeah.
And of course, we're compassionate about that. And we say, we know this is hard. We're sorry.
And I stayed on the line with them until they got to a place where they were comfortable. And
So it's better to teach them how to navigate it than to come bail them out. Because then they've learned nothing. And now they've crossed other hurdles. Like, okay, if I'm lost in a town, I can just ask somebody to get help. And But if you haven't seen our videos on self-reliance, we've got 3 of them. And so that's in our playground video. And then I have 2 videos on childhood self-reliance. It's a big deal here in Germany.
We were really curious going into Gymnasium, what it was going to be like, how they were going to split up the different subjects. And, it was different and new for us. And so it was really interesting because we've got one child in 5th grade, one child in 6th grade. And of course, we have friends back in America who have made that transition. In America, at least in where we used to live, the elementary school was through 5th grade. And so some of Gabriel's friends now are in 6th grade in America going into middle school in America. Mm-hmm. And so it's really cool to look and see, contrast the difference and, compare and contrast, the school here and the school there. I have a graph here to show how the breakdown of the amount of time that the 5th grade and 6th grade in Gymnasium and then 6th grade in America is. And it's really interesting to look at the differences there. The biggest difference, I think, the big obvious one is the foreign language, that there's 0 foreign language being taught in 6th grade. At least when I went through school, I had no opportunity for language until 9th grade.
I started taking Spanish in 6th grade.
So, you did start in 6th grade, but that was a choice, though.
It was a choice. I was excited. I've been interested in foreign countries and languages since I was a kid. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I had no option. I mean, maybe that's because I was a little older, or I went to school in Florida as opposed to Georgia. But I had no option till 9th grade. You have some options now, and it's getting better than it used to be with languages, foreign languages in America. I think so.
Okay.
I think there's more options in school to learn languages than there used to.
Okay.
But it's
definitely Spanish because there's so many Hispanic immigrants.
Yes, there are. So, but what's interesting is the class that Gabriel is in the most is his French class. He has French for 5 hours or 5 class periods a week.
Yeah.
And then he has English for another 4. So he spends nearly a third of his school time on foreign languages. And his friend back in America spends 0.
Yeah. And also, Gabriel's learning French in German.
Right.
So he's learning 2 languages at once, you know? So we were worried that the foreign language was going to be the toughest part, and that's what the principal from the previous Gymnasium had told us.
Yeah.
They're absolutely correct. If you're not fluent in the language they're teaching the foreign language in, you're going to be all kinds of confused. But Gabriel, he's smart, and he's doing great. He's doing great, and his German is really good now. Yeah.
And luckily, both Sarah and I speak a decent amount of French.
Yeah.
And so, most every day I'll sit down with Gabriel and be like, I'll quiz him on his stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, last night he learned d'accord, which is,
Of course.
Yeah, well,
I agree.
I was like saying, they use this all the time.
Yeah,
and like
do.
Germans, when you're talking, you'll say, Germans say genau. And d'accord, it's just like genau.
It's just like genau.
So.
And it was easier to explain it using a German word.
Yeah,
than
exactly.
English.
Exactly. And so.
Also, they say also all the time here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Genau also. Also.
And so that's nice that we can help him with the French. And
he was interested in learning French because we used to live there. Kevin and I used to live there.
Yeah.
And so now we're excited. Hopefully maybe next year or the year after, sometime in the future, we're going to take the kids on a nice trip to France so that he can see all the things he's learning about in person.
Yeah. So that's the biggest, most glaring difference is that foreign language is such a focus here. And it's also interesting that the way the class day is set up is different. Well, I guess that's not so much. They basically, both here and there, there's about 6 Stunde or 6 periods during the day.
Yeah.
But in America, each day is the same. There are 6 Stunde, and every day you'll go to math, and every day you'll go to English, and every day you'll go to social studies. There's one of the 6 periods that's called specials. And in specials, it's sort of a mix match. Well, actually, there is music and art that is not part of the specials for him in 6th grade.
Okay.
And that's interesting that there is almost the same amount of music and art for 5th grade and 6th grade here, as well as 6th grade in America. I was a little surprised that it's about the same. In America, the schedule is basically the same every day. Every day of the week is the same. The only thing that can change is that one specials Stunde where they might do some STEM stuff or computers or some vocational type things in those specials. But every day is the same in 6th grade in America, where here the days are different. The Stundenplan is different every day. And so the kids are always having every morning to look in their Stundenplan. Which books do I need to bring today? You know,
so
Grayson.
The book bag doesn't weigh 50
kilos. Well, Grayson said today's my heaviest day because I have my atlas, my atlas for geography class.
Yes, and there were many comments on our last video that said the same thing.
Giant
I remember carrying the atlas to school every, Yeah,
so Grayson's got his atlas And so, well, then the question is, if in America they're not doing as much foreign language, what are they filling in there? And so actually, they do in that 6th grade in America, he does sport or PE, physical education, every day of the week. So he has 5 periods of PE, which is a lot more than either the 5th grade or 6th grade here. So they have a lot more PE, and they actually have a lot more social studies. Both Grayson and Gabriel. Grayson has geography and Gabriel has history, but social studies is one of those periods that they do every day in 6th grade. So that is more in 6th grade in America than it is here. So it's really interesting to show you this graph of showing the breakdown of the different subjects. Is interesting to see the differences there.
So to wrap things up, we were nervous about starting Gymnasium just because it's something new and we didn't know about it, and we've heard so much like Gymnasium is so difficult.
The great unknown.
And we've been told by so many people how hard it is.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh gosh, how is this going to go? Our children might be coming home stressed out and crying because they have so much homework.
And it hasn't been that way.
And it hasn't been that way.
And Grayson he's so happy. He's like, I love this school. I feel he's made friends there.
Yes.
And he's like, this is really cool. I really like going to Gymnasium. He likes actually the challenge of going on the bus. He's really blossomed and enjoying it.
And so has Gabriel.
And Gabriel has too.
He was nervous this summer. And he, after that first week, he was already feeling like, okay, this is going to be okay. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do okay.
And he feels a lot more at home there than being in the Mittelschule here in our town.
He didn't fit in.
Going there, being challenged academically, being with other kids that are inclined in that way too. It's really, it's been great for him.
Yeah, so the experience has been much better than we thought it has. It has not been full of stress and...
Other than the bus.
Other than the bus is the most stressful part. So, hey, we can handle a bus,
right.
That doesn't affect their future, so. And so it's really funny. So, yeah, we've been very pleasantly surprised by how well the experience has gone at Gymnasium. And really, in our last video, we talked about how the principal told us, immigrants can't go to Gymnasium when they don't speak the language. Yeah, so in life, you naturally end up in the place you're meant to be because it fits. Right. And I think that last school, with him saying, that principal saying that, it was clear, like, he doesn't even seem to be welcoming to kids who don't speak German so much. And this could be really tough. This could be an uphill climb. And really, I'm happy that door closed on that Gymnasium and we found this other one because they were friendly right from the beginning and welcoming. And so, when the principal feels that way, that attitude is going to be reflected all the way down. And I'm really happy that we ended up in the school that we're in. It's more laid back. It's more progressive teaching methods. And Grayson is taking like clay making, pottery.
Yeah,
class.
that's true.
I never in my whole time
that.
in school ever took an actual pottery class.
Yeah, so he got to pick. It was sort of, I don't know if it's like vocational training or whatever, but yeah, he's doing clay for half the year, and he's going to do carpentry the next half of the year. So
there's also beekeeping at this school, and so many really interesting classes. So Grayson has 2 hours a week of this pottery class, and I think that's wonderful. It gives them a break from the academic learning, and it's so good to use your hands. I think that helps your brain process everything you're learning, and just it's so good. And he really likes sport. He's very athletic, Grayson is, so they have a lot of sport, and it's been, this school has so far been a really good fit for us. So to other people, other immigrants coming to Germany, if you're wanting your kid to get into, Realschule or Gymnasium, keep trying.
Yeah, you might want to shop around and find which one is the right fit for your kid.
Yeah, and find the one that feels welcoming to you, because that's going to be important as a foreigner. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it, and hope you have a great rest of your week. Come back for the next video where we'll talk about German engineering and
math in school.
Okay, so cheers.
Cheers.